All right, so David and I are going to take a look at our live preview feature and see how well behaved it is. So I created this project or I updated it yesterday to match the code sandbox template when you start a React project. They have an initial template that works nicely out of the box and everything. Code Sandbox is what powers our live preview feature in the web IDE. I had to make a few changes to the project because when I tried to run it, it wasn't picking up on JSX files correctly. It wasn't transpiling those. So already from the Code Sandbox template that, let me just open up Code Sandbox. And let's see if we can, how do we start a thing? Start coding for free. Oh man, I didn't know you could code for free, David.
I can.
So here we go. So this is Code Sandbox. It's so lovely. Yeah, so I can start edit. I can start editing things. Here's an edit. This is all nice. I'm using, these are JSX files because you see we're doing the that JSX syntax here. And so when I cloned this into GitLab and opened the web IDE, this didn't work. The JSX files didn't work and I had to tweak them already. So after tweaking them, hoping that this will work, let's see if it works. So I'm going to open up the network here and just we'll see if there's any issues going on. So I open up the live preview and it's loading things. All right. Sometimes it just sits here. And we'll see. We'll give it 5 seconds.
It shouldn't take 5 seconds.
Then I'm gonna close and open.
What is that? What's that first error?
I don't know.
If you scroll back up in your console, what happened there? What was that first error? Okay, that's.
Yeah, so the way this works is this iframe has to be on a different domain because we don't want the iframe to be accessing cookies and special information from here. So the iframe assets are hosted in this static site. For some reason, I guess it's trying to register service worker.
Yeah,
settings or private browsing mode. I'm not in private browsing mode. Okay, but this just isn't started. Oh, now it's started. All right, there we go. So
okay,
opens and now it's started, and that's great. So yeah, so now once it's started, it's pretty good. I work. Yeah, so that's great. All right, and so that's a nice, when this actually loads, that's great.
Yep.
But there's many a times when it just doesn't load, and that's one of the most frustrating things about it. I think there's also, you can create, so let's also try something else out. So if I go, while this is loading, let me go to create from a template. I'll create a new project and I'm going to create a plain HTML project. We'll use this as a template. Oh no, I'm not in my GDK. Ha 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 ha. I can't create things under the root user.
I mean, it would be funny if you could. That'd be great.
We'll call this example HTML.
All right, let's do it. Public visibility.
This is still loading.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that one's not going to load this time. I mean, maybe if you refreshed it enough. I saw Flash as something anyway.
Yeah, if you open this on Chrome, you get the nice little window that says transpiling modules, but it's still just stuck.
Right.
So sometimes it decides to work, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't, that's really frustrating.
Okay, so we have our
HTML thing, and so if I'm familiar with the live preview feature, I may feel like, oh, I can just get started. But this tab actually isn't show up.
Yeah, because we need to create.
A package JSON needs to exist.
Yeah.
And so I create a package JSON, and it needs to have a main going to public. I'm pretty sure we just have an index. Yep. .html. Okie dokie. Commit. Okay. So I had to commit because now I need to refresh it for it to pick up that we can do this. Let's see what happens. Oh man. Maybe it wants us to have a name for a package JSON. Code sandbox example HTML version. Okay, so maybe it wants it to be a little bit more valid. Let me go ahead and commit this because I'll need to redo it or whatever. Let's check on over here. Oh, there we go. All right, that one's ready.
All right, that React one works. Does the HTML one work?
Okay, cool. So it does need this name and version, I guess. And so now this is working, and that's nice. Let's see if can I get do these work? Let's see.
Let's find out.
So that should change everything to red.
Mm-hmm.
And let's redo it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so one of the critical issues with this is it can't respect relative paths because this is written to an iframe hosted on a separate source. So it's trying to find stuff on a separate source, and it's not actually reading things through the file resolver when you're doing this HTML way.
Yeah.
So those are the main ways I see the live preview being used. You have the static HTML version, and then you have where you're actually doing like a React app. Package JSON has to be very specific. When I say specific, it's looking for these specific keywords, which you may not actually want in your package JSON to say that this is the main, because sometimes this is actually the source and the main is going to be the compiled file, which we won't actually have in a real project. So like if I was doing TSX, I would say my source is going to be source index.tsx. My main would be lib index.js or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, when this thing does work, it is cool to kind of play around with and get the instant feedback. But already from React, like I had to add some lines to make it behave. So you see here, it doesn't need to import React from React.
So that's, I mean, straight away from a usability perspective, if it was me, I would just click into Code Sandbox if I wanted that feedback, because I don't have this extra overhead. And this has now caused me to leave GitLab.com.
You bring up a fantastic example. And so here's an interesting idea. We have this open and code sandbox.
I was literally just thinking that. Why don't we replace that button with
look at how it works. Look at how it works. You bring up such a good idea. Why don't we just
That's what most people are probably doing. Let's just replace that button with a link out to Code Sandbox and just respect that, as opposed to bundling all of this extra overhead. Because the first thing I would do if I wrote that background red and it didn't change, I'd click on the open and sandbox to see what's going on. And then as soon as I saw the tool working in the way it's supposed to work, why would you navigate back into this view? You just won't.
Yeah. That because of how difficult this can be to test, and we've noticed some ways this can be exploited in bad ways.
Yeah, it's very inconsistent.
I suggest it is
It's a link. We just create a link that links
Yeah.
out to it.
I think it'd be cool to make it a tab that has this kind of view and then has a button that says open in Code Sandbox, and then that's just what we do. What do you think?
That's a very easy change for us to make. I think that's perfectly fine. I think let's ask will improve the UX experience in both GitLab, and it'll help us reduce our vulnerability surface.
Yeah, I think so. That's a cool idea. So this is working already way more favorable than it was working for me yesterday, but you've already seen like it's hard to tell if it's working, and I can attest to there's sometimes it just does not load, and it is not a favorable experience. So, well, thanks for watching us bash GitLab.com's live preview.